So here we are in the kitchen for another episode of Catholic Cooking, where we try out a new to us Catholic recipe from a different Catholic cookbook every month.
So our cookbook this month is a little bit different. It is actually a Catholic book that has a recipe in it, but this recipe is one that we've wanted to try for a very long time.
So it's this book, Shadows Visible and Invisible, which is a collection of short stories from the authors over at Catholic Teen Books, which is a website that we love. And yes, the soul cake recipe from this book is one that we've been wanting to try for a long time, and we'll explain all about soul cakes later.
And then we're also going to try some homemade pumpkin spice lattes, which is another recipe that we just kind of wanted to make for several years now.
So we found the recipe for best DIY homemade pumpkin spice latte over at the Live Simply blog. We'll link it down below for you.
And then last, we're going to try a recipe from this So Yummy cookbook, and it is their recipe for brownie pinwheels.
So we have something interesting in mind for this recipe. We're going to try a little experiment. Don't know if it will work out. It's always an adventure.
So we're going to start first with the soul cakes from Shadows Visible and Invisible from the Catholic Teen Books authors. And if you've never heard of them, they are a group of talented writers who write books specifically for Catholic teens.
So we frequently have people ask us, where can I get really solid Catholic books for my older kids? And honestly, Catholic Teen Books, that is your go-to place. We have read and loved so many of their stories.
And this book is a collection of short stories around Hallowtide, the 3 days in the Catholic Church that include Halloween, All Saints, and All Souls Day. So these stories highlight the traditions around those days and also the Holy Souls and why we should be praying for them.
So the first story has the fun tradition called going souling, and that is when you would go to someone's house on Halloween and knock on the door and say, is there anyone in your family who has passed away recently? And if so, I would be happy to pray for that person. And then in return, the family, who is grateful, gives you a soul cake.
And so again, this is one that we've always wanted to make, but just never have. So to make this one, you need flour, milk, as well as buttermilk. We usually just make our own. Powdered sugar, vanilla, butter, eggs, brown sugar, cinnamon, mace, nutmeg, cloves, and that recipe calls for raisins, but we're gonna substitute some craisins that we want to use. So we first creamed the butter and the brown sugar together, then added in the eggs, then added the spices into the flour and whisked that together, then added that in increments into the wet ingredients. And then we just added in the craisins and mixed that up a little, and then rolled out the dough and cut it into soul cakes. After that, we put a little cross on the top, and we had plenty of help from the visiting cardinal. And then we just popped those in the oven, let them bake, and here they are when they're done. And then we just did powdered sugar, vanilla, and milk to make the glaze for the top. And then brushed that over the soul cakes while they were warm.
Now moving on to the brownie pinwheels. That's kind of an unusual name, but the recipe comes from So Yummy Dessert Hacks. We found this book at a thrift store, and it has really cool recipes and really beautiful pictures of different desserts that you can make, all using only like 2 to 4 ingredients.
So the pinwheels look pretty simple, but we did have the idea that we might be able to shape them into rose shapes for the Feast of St. Therese coming up on October 1st. But that is a might. We're not sure how that would turn out.
So we had the idea that we could bake them in a cupcake tin to help them retain a rose type shape, but we don't know. It might turn out to be a hot mess and we might end up with just like blobs of cookie-like dessert. We are asking St. Therese to put in a good word for us on this one.
And so to make it, you need a boxed brownie mix and refrigerated cookie dough, which you could easily buy, or you could make some and just chill it overnight. So first we made the brownie mix, so just dumped it out and added in the eggs, as well as the oil, and mixed it up. And then we started experimenting with the roses, so we rolled out some of the pre-made cookie dough and just tried to shape that in the muffin tin as best we could, and then just filled the center with some of the brownie batter. And then we rolled out the big chunk of dough, and this is where we started to struggle. We put the brownie dough in the middle and then tried to roll it, and as you can see, we are struggling. It is spreading everywhere. So eventually we just chucked it on a baking sheet and put that in the freezer. And then we just cut it up as best we could after it was frozen and baked it.
And then last we are going to be trying the homemade pumpkin spice latte, a hot drink that is very popular for better or worse this time of year. But I have to admit, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, I have never had a pumpkin spice latte.
And I've had a couple here and there, but I've never truly felt like they are as life-changing as everyone says they are.
Change her mind.
So maybe this will change my mind. I don't know. I hope so. And to make this one, you need milk, coffee, maple syrup, canned pumpkin, vanilla, and pumpkin pie spice. So we first heated up the milk and added the maple syrup, then added in the scoops of pumpkin and then the pumpkin pie spice and whisked that together. Then added the vanilla and just whisked it till it was really frothy, and put that into our mugs and then added the coffee on top.
Okay, so we're not gonna lie to you, it's been a tough day in the kitchen. Our immersion blender decided to die today, so that was one thing.
But we did the best we could with it and made it anyway.
So we're going to taste the homemade pumpkin spice latte. Now, I don't know about yours, Kate, but mine's awful.
Yeah, it just tastes like coffee.
Yeah, it doesn't taste like anything special or like the best DIY.
It tastes like you just had coffee with milk and you put a shot of like pumpkin pie spice in it and mixed it up.
However, I've never had an official pumpkin spice latte, so maybe that's how they all taste. I don't know.
No.
Okay, all right. Shows me. Okay, we're hoping for better luck with the soul cakes. These turned out, so go ahead, Kate. Okay, so, all right. It's definitely not a super sweet type of cookie.
No, it's got a light sweetness from the glaze, but it's also a pretty dense cookie.
Right.
There wasn't any baking soda or powder in it.
So I'm not sure if these are like a cookie. I'm not sure. I've never had soul cake, so
they look like cookies, but they might not be classified as cookies.
But they're good with the craisins and the glaze.
Didn't work.
Well, that was a big fail. Okay, so oh my gosh, here they are.
Yeah.
Delicious. Follow us on Pinterest. Yeah. Okay.
We just made bar cookies the hard
Way
way.
with a lot of extra steps to like burn extra calories. Okay, and so our roses were also a fail. I mean, this one kind of, you know, kind of. It's a stretch. It's a stretch, but it's okay because I'm sure these taste delicious.
I'm sure they do.
I'm sure they do. Okay, so we're going to taste test these because they've already cooled down a little bit, and so we'll just see.
Okay.
St. Therese is just laughing at us, but that's okay.
Probably.
It's very good. It's actually very, very good.
Yep.
Cookies and brownies together, how could that not be good? Not good to look at, but good to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you know that all is not lost, I am teaching a confirmation class tonight. I'm going to chop these up in bars in a heartbeat, and the teenagers are going to love them. It's going to be a big win.
They will never know what put
They
down
will
in the
never
kitchen
know.
today.
They'll just be so excited.
enjoy it.
Fresh baked cookies.
Mhm.
Hooray.
Totally didn't fail.
All right, so it was another adventure in the kitchen today.
Last place goes to the pumpkin spice latte. That simply did not work, and maybe it was us, maybe it wasn't us, but
I don't know.
I know. It's easier to buy one.
We did follow the recipe exactly, and so I don't know why it just tasted really awful, but
Oh well.
I don't know. So,
It was fun to try, nonetheless.
well, gosh, it's not converting me to being a pumpkin latte fan. I'll say that. Okay. Then in second place, I'm just gonna have to say the brownie cookie thing. You know,
They tasted good.
they tasted great,
But- We lost the pinwheel aspect,
Right.
which is the whole draw of the recipe.
that could be operator error because I didn't understand that it said like put a layer of brownie dough on top of the cookies. It didn't say put all of the brownie dough, which is what I did. So that could be my fault.
Okay, and then that leaves the soul cakes taking first place.
Absolutely. As they cooled down, the glaze hardened and they were really good.
They were,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would totally make these for my 7th graders, you know, for religious ed class, you know, as a fun kind of All Saints Day type of food. So yeah, it was definitely a win, and I'm so glad we finally got to try the recipe.
Yes.
But maybe the biggest winner out of all this was just this book and the stories in it. It's a bonus that it has the recipe in the back. But it's just such a nice way to teach your kids about the Holy Souls in Purgatory and their true meaning of Halloween, not what our culture has turned it into.
Yes, exactly. And this one is, like, I think the 5th anthology. Yeah, the 5th anthology that they have put out. So if you like the idea of this, there's 4 more books where that came from.
Right. So I think this would be really fun to read during the month of October, maybe like a family read aloud, and then at the end you can make the soul cake. So that would
That'd be a lot of fun.
That would be a lot of fun. So anyway, there you go. Soul cakes for the win.
Right. So that was our Catholic cooking for the month of September.
So as always, we hope you enjoyed the video. Let us know down in the comments if you have any cooking tips for us, because clearly we are in need of those.
So thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.